Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're all doing well, and welcome to the showdown between the Tomb Kings and Bretonnia. It's going to be myself with Ark in the Black facing off against the Enchantress here on the other side of the map. Looks like the Tomb Kings Navy has landed. Doesn't really look like Tomb Kings boats, but close enough. On the shores of fair border low. Now, as far as my army goes, front line is going to be Tomb Guard with halberds. So number one, these guys do have full capture weight compared to skeletons, and they do also have anti-large and armor piercing, so against Bretonnian cavalry and characters, they can be pretty formidable. And yeah, they're good enough to hold against the Bretonnian troopers with 52 melee defense. So solid unit here. Well, I don't know if they'll have 52 when Arkin moves away. I think it's a little bit lower, like in the 40s, but still a very, very good combat stat. So front battle line is Tomb Guard with halberds. In the secondary, you know, I felt like getting a little bit crazy. Bone Giants, I'm always on the fence about them, but I've been doing a little bit of testing with Bone Giants, and I find that they actually do okay against like tightly packed infantry formations. So if your opponent has like, you know, archers or foot squires or something like that, or any sort of cavalry units, they're going to be able to pound them pretty effectively. So that's the Boner Giant and two Tomb Princes on the ground. So I've been wanting to experiment with these guys, but they only have 70 armor, which makes me a little bit nervous, but 48 melee defense hopefully will make up for that. Anti-large armor piercing, and if you activate their ability, they can cause terror for a short period of time. So if you're trying to break a Bretonnian position, you pop that and hopefully have some success. Ark in the Black, a couple spears in the back, and that is it for my starting army. Now for Subutai, it's going to be very, very classic Bretonnia. More often than not, Bretonnia will come into the initial battle with a huge core of infantry to try and take control of the battlefield, and then they're going to start feeling the pressure, and that's when they call in their cavalry units to counterpunch you. So very much like a Muhammad Ali approach here, you know, up against the ropes, calling the cavalry, you know, dodge and hammer them pretty good. So Enchantress is great, Earthblood as well as Awakening of the Wood, and the reason why you bring that, not only for a little bit of damage against skeletons, but also it triggers the Life Bloom passive very easily, which heals your entire army. So that is very, very strong. And yeah, it looks like double Paladin too, so the Paladin's going to be lurking on the wings, looking to party, and we're going to be sending a Tomb Guard halberd as well as a Skeleton Spear over towards Objective 3 to make sure that that doesn't get cheesed away from us. So we'll do some fast forwarding while the two armies get in position and posture and prepare for the glorious battle that is to come here. And the Bone Giant's going to be looking for some sweet targets. My Tomb Guard halberds do get up on the point, and you can see the first Bone Giant shaft. This is what I'm talking about here. Immediately takes out a fair amount of peasants. Yeah, it's going to be 17 peasants down immediately and a lot of HP damage. So yeah, not bad. Enchantress, we could shoot at Enchantress, but she's on foot, so it's going to be a bit of a harder target. In seeing the flank pressure here, I did call in my Sepulchral Stalkers, the Eyes of the Desert, one of my favorite units on the roster. These things are just so incredibly cool. So they get their laser beamed eyes, and the neat thing is, like, they have good shooting, and if a cavalry unit wants to run them down, they do have anti-large halberds too, so they're going to be pretty stalwart against those bad boys. But this is what I don't want. I don't want some haggard, unwashed peasants chasing them and tar pitting them in combat. That is a very good play by Subutai as well. So Bone Giant hitting another target on the Peasant Bowman here, and now the Tomb Guard halberds have engaged, and Ark in the Black and the Tomb Prince going to be helping out against Battle Pilgrims, and they should be able to wear down this unit with somewhat efficient speed if the two hero characters decide to stay there. You pop Tomb Strike to get a little bit more damage, maybe should have waited for the Terror to be relevant, but there is the Liber Mortis, so that aura, that comes from Ark in the Black, and that gives physical resist. He's just such a good character. Unfortunately, he really overshadows, in my opinion, the other Tomb Kings characters. I think Kotep is good for spamming cheap spells, but if you're not looking to do spell spam, then Ark in the Black is just so much better than like Khalida and even than Cetra, unfortunately. I think Cetra needs a little bit of milk. The attack animations on those like big sphinxes is often really janky, so that hurts characters like Cetra, right? So back pressure is now coming in. We do have the Grail Knights, Paladin, and Paladin as well, which is Henri Lamassif, and two Battle Pilgrims flanking around the side of my formation. So very, very scary stuff. So we're going to be pulling Arkin out. Arkin's hustling. He's on foot, and he's going to be dropping a Skeleton Summon on top of the Grail Knights, the MLG Skeleton Summon, which will be very, very powerful. So it blocks their charge, and just such good utility from him. So it kind of stifles the charge of those Knights quite a bit. And then we get a Fate of Yuna, and we send in these Sepulchral Stalkers, which are then going to be attacking the very weakened Grail Knights, the ones that have overextended away. So that's a really, really brutal engagement for us, and I would say very favored, as the Fate of Yuna is going to be doing fat damage. Earthblood does kind of counter it a little bit, but Skeleton's holding up the charge, and in the front line, it's a little bit dodgy. The Enchantress is certainly helping her troops win. The Tomb Guard halberds holding their own and, you know, wearing down these Battle Pilgrims, but the Enchantress can probably turn this fight around, and here the Battle Pilgrims are defeating my Tomb Guard halberds with the support of the archers, it looks like. So it's a very even fight in the front line, and the backfield is absolute chaos here. It's really getting nuts. But Arkin's a good fighter. He has good combat stats. 40 and 50 and 450, so he's able to help turn this out of the fight. Grail Knight's still sitting at 42 models, but really, really on death's bed, calling in more Nehekar Horsemen, which are a great unit. I think Nehekar Horsemen are one of the most cost-effective units on the entire roster. They have great combat stats for their price point at 24 and 28 and 34, and 38 weapon strength. That is super good. So they get a nice flank onto the Foot Squires. Foot Squires are pretty armored, but the Nehekar Horsemen should be able to put some work in. In the meantime, the big giant's also going to be fleeing the scene. So the boner giant coming in with the Mike Tyson. Well, I guess I think Mike Tyson threw the big left hooks, right? Yeah, but that was a right hook there. But close enough. We're in the ballpark. Unfortunately for me, the Eyes of the Desert actually getting killed. I was pretty surprised by this, but 2 anti-large paladins here doing some really, really consistent damage. The Grail Knights, you know, even if in a bad situation, Grail Knights are going to be a pretty formidable foe. So at the end of the day, you know, it makes a little bit of sense. So we have some Skeleton Chariots moving in, going to be maneuvering them around, trying to run through some of these peasants here. Skeleton Chariots for Tomb Kings, in my experience, are pretty bad against high mass infantry. So if you're against like Chaos Warriors or Dwarves or something like that, I find them to be pretty terrible. But if they're against the Bretonnian troopers who have low mass and low armor and stuff, they can actually do good work. So Sepulchral Stalker is going to be turning to fight here before they go down, and their anti-large halberds should, you know, get a little bit of DPS in on these characters before they go down. And overall, let's see how they did. So only 600 value, a little bit unfortunate, but Subutai did a good job tar pitting them with things that you know, I didn't want to be fighting. Now, value trading is pretty even. I do have a little bit of healing via Realm of Souls, so it's probably pretty much dead even, I would say. Ushopti Summon's going to be called in to try and help me win this position back, so we still do have the Tomb Prince fighting here with his armor piercing. And he's getting some good work in, and the Ushopti will be rising from the sands. You know, maybe there's some sand under here, who knows, but they found a way. But they're going to be cleaving through the foot squires, hopefully. Tomb Guard Halberds, you know, really, really solid stalwart unit, like I said, fighting against huge odds, really tough situations, and holding to the bitter end, and grinding out some respectable value, I would imagine. So Chariots on the far side do get tied down. You see what I'm saying? Even against these foot squires, yeah, like the Skeleton Chariots are weird. They don't really have the best penetration in my experience. Skeleton Warrior summoned from Mark in the Black, trying to buy some time for the Chariots to escape. In the backfield, it's getting a little bit wild, unfortunately, the Bone Giant being attacked by this Paladin. And now we're going to be calling in some more Skeleton Spearmen to try and support the front line. Meanwhile, in the side flank, I'm just leaving 1 Skeleton Spearman over here, and we are going to be moving up with the Reserve Halberd. So I had some Halberds sitting on reserve on Objective 3, so those bad boys are going to be heading up towards Objective 2 here. Meanwhile, the Sepulchral Stalkers, round 2 are being called in. So these guys, like I said, pretty good against the Bretonnian cavalry, but part of me felt as if just going with Ushopti Grapos would have been a little bit better, you know, because they can really pound from a distance, but wanted to try something different. And overall, I've had some really good success with Sepulchral Stalkers in the past as well. So here we got the Tomb Guard Halberd boys holding back waves and waves of peasants, also tar pitting 2 Paladin units and getting some decent HP damage on them. You can see this guy just lost about 300, 400, 500 HP against those Tomb Guard Halberds. Henri La Massif could be in the same situation, and now the Boner Giant can turn around and start unleashing his giant fat shaft right into the face here of this Paladin, hopefully. That's going to be the game plan. So here it comes. Come on, give it to us. Don't do it. Okay, he's obstructed, so having some problems. Okay, there he goes. He's going to rip the shot. He doesn't care about being obstructed. Okay, he does. He's blue balling us here. Sorry about that, guys. You know, it happens. So, feeling as if I'm a little bit behind in this game, I do go for a bit of a Desperation goon. So I head after the Fey Enchantress with Arc in the Black. You know, Spirit Leeching where I can, but really she has super high magic resist, so it's not going to be really effective here. And there is going to be a fat Chalice of Potions going down on the Tomb Guard Halberds, but thankfully for me, the cavalry charge from the Defenders of Fleur-de-Lis actually kind of saved my butt, because it knocked a bunch of them out of formation, which means the Chalice of Potions, you can see where all their models are from the cavalry charge. It didn't really do much, so I was very grateful for that. Another Fate of Buna going down, and anytime you're playing a heavy cav faction, Fate of Buna is really good. It can almost one-shot these expensive cavalry units. And the Bone Giant, unfortunately I didn't miss it for you guys, but the Bone Giant did finally manage to shoot the Paladin here, did some really good damage, so I was super happy about that. And if we can knock the Paladins off, you know, we are down on points pretty considerably, but if we can move up and secure Objective 2, Tomb Kings are kind of tough to wrestle objectives from, so that is the plan. Another Bone Giant shot, man, he's really on point. Henri La Massif getting tagged in the face again, while the Tomb Guard in the secondary row do break through the pushing peasant mobs, and now are going to be heading up towards this point here to try and get that one back. Arc in the Black and his Tomb Prince homie fighting shoulder to shoulder. The other Tomb Prince did die in the blob of Battle Pilgrims, which is very unfortunate for me, but nonetheless, Arc proving that he's a very formidable fighter, on top of being a mage. And a big cav charge coming in, but once again, we do use that summon, the Skeleton Warrior summon, but we summoned it like right into the charge, and they just got pounded. I was like, damn, that sucks, but even still, it did, you know, keep our actual units from getting hurt badly there, and also tar pitted these Knights of the Realm a little bit, which is good. And the Bone Giant, man, he's just soloing these Paladins back here. You can see ripping shots, and I'm actually very happy with his performance. He's up to about 1,200. He's almost paid for himself. Come on, give it to us. Oh my god. I don't think it's going to be enough damage to actually finish this guy off, but let's see if we can get the MLG below. Come on, Bone Giant. Come on, don't do us dirty. Oh, the Arrows of Asaph. Oh, and that Paladin gets no-scoped, but he lives with 100 HP. Oh no, that feels bad, but he's going to shatter off the battlefield, so at the very least, it does send a message. Maybe he's going to rip one more shot. Okay, forget everything else. Nothing matters in this game except the big Bone Giant shaft. So here it comes. Another shot from downtown, and there it goes. That Paladin being sent back to the swamps of the Lady. This Bone Giant, pretty happy with himself up to 1370 value. So yeah, I like the Bone Giant. It's kind of cool because it's like a really hard to remove SE. A little bit tricky to protect against like Paladins and things like that, but overall I'm very pleased with how it's done and the fact that it survived and it really hung in there. So Tomb Guard Halberds moving up on the point, so we do have a couple of those. And now we're going to get them into the cavalry unit. So Knights of the Realm do not want to be fighting Tomb Guard Halberds. Tomb Guard Halberds are going to be a very, very stalwart unit here. So they are going to hold, and we will see what kind of work they can get done. Over here on the side, Skeleton Warriors and Hekar Horsemen trying to fight through, but the Bretonnian Foot Squires, their armor holding relatively firm here. Arkin being swarmed by just a legion of haggard peasants, but him and the Tomb Prince trying to take down Henri Le Massif, and we do get a Bone Giant Shaft as well, which makes partial contact with Henri right here, but so far hasn't been able to connect. Tomb Prince, unfortunately, looking like he's going to be taken out by the mighty Bretonnian Paladin. He's at 165 HP, but he tried his best. I don't know how much I like the Tomb Princes here. They gave me some sustained presence in the front line, but overall, yeah, 600 value. I guess they only cost 700, so if they get 600 value, that's a decent performance from them. But now Arkin is a little bit surrounded. Henri Le Massif and the Fey Enchantress is going to be 2v1ing Arkin the Black here, which is not good, but we do get that Skeleton Summon. The Bone Giant trying to help from downtown, but he used all his accuracy points on the other Paladin that was fleeing there, so he does miss that shot. If he had been able to hit Henri Le Massif, maybe Arkin could have came in with the killing blow, but Arkin is getting very, very low here, currently sitting at about 800 HP. Tomb Guard Halberd's doing a good job grinding up and pushing. We got more and more spears coming and starting to make a little bit of an advance back. Value is very even for both of us, but I think at this point, considering all my Realm of Souls have disappeared, he probably has a little bit more healing than me. And Arkin getting some work done to the Fey Enchantress. She is approaching her healing cap, but her Mortis Engine doing nice work against the supporting units that Arkin does have here. And now we finally get an Ushabti Greatbow out. So the Ushabti Greatbows actually destroyed those Knights of the Realm pretty effectively with a volley, and they were beat up, so it wasn't like too many volleys, but they just came in and kind of cleaned them up. But the peasant mobs are going to be moving in to disrupt my Greatbows. So now going to be circling around, looking to maneuver around the back of the Boner Giant and get maybe a bit of a better angle. Arkin the Black here sitting at 4 HP, and down he goes. So the villainous Arkin has fallen. Bretonnia calling in waves and waves. Knights of the Realm and Battle Pilgrims. We got Skeletons and Spearmen coming up. And looking at the value, we have pulled ahead a little bit by actually quite a bit, by about 500. So we did get some good DPS in there, but the Fae's healing is no joke. She's healed a shit ton. So Bretonnia definitely still ahead of us here, but the Tomb Guard presence, not bad at all. Able to break through one unit surrounding those Battle Pilgrims, and the Hekar Horsemen trying to break the battle lines as well. But at this point, I think it's going to be a little bit tough. The Fey Enchantress with her Mortis Engine and just her presence there in the front line, and the fact that I don't have a caster and my entire army's leadership is going to be heavily penalized, I think is going to be a little bit too much. The Ushabti Greatbow is doing, you know, some nice fire support here on Knights of the Realm, but unfortunately they're going to get rode down here. I do have some supporting units nearby, some Skeleton Spearmen, and we're going to try and support them, but at the end of the day, it's just looking very, very bleak. You know, the Mortis Engine from the Lady is there. We got our Bone Giant and Ushabti Greatbows. It was a pretty close fight in terms of value trading, but at the end, the Lord duel and the character dueling was able to end the game for me. And we also see some tattered Knights of the Realm come around the flanks. A really nice play there by my opponent. And with the Ushabti Greatbows going down, that's basically going to be the death knell here for the Tomb Kings. Once again, you know, they're used to dying. It's not their first time. They'll be back. They'll rise from the deserts, but there was some elements of this build I liked. I've really been trying to learn Tomb Kings in Dom mode, and I think I want to make them one of my mains. They're really fun to play. They're a little bit under. I don't think they get as much, you know, shine as they deserve. So a lot to explore here. They have some inefficiencies in their roster for sure. Like their constructs, I think need some help. Like the Kemrian War Sphinx, Tomb Scorpions. Like those units should be very good, but they're just so haggard and they get stuck. Their attack animations don't connect. It's really weird. But aside from that, like, you know, Tomb Guard are a great unit. You have good Lords of Magic. Ushabti Greatbows are amazing. Pretty good character range. Bone Giant, 2,000 value on that bad boy. That's not bad at all. What I'd probably do in retrospect, Arkin was a beast at 2,600. I would probably cut the Tomb Princes. Maybe go a little bit lighter. Both of those Sepulchral Stalkers were pretty massive disappointments. So I'd probably cut them just completely out of the strategy. Open with Ushabti Greatbows and maybe mix in some Necropolis Knights to try and counter the Knights of the Realm as they charge my Ushabti Greatbows. Also catapults too. I think you need maybe 1 or 2 Screaming Skull catapults to try and disrupt the Bretonnian infantry swarm. Alright guys, that's it for today. Well played to my opponent. We'll be back with some more sweaty games soon, and you guys take care of yourselves.